coming into. I think that's great. And I'm just going to say to Colin that maybe we should give folks at least 2 to 3 minutes before we start the film, because people are always a little bit late. What you guys think? Thumbs up, thumbs. Okay. So maybe start them at 4:03 or something. Yeah.
We often go to 4:05 to 5 minutes past.
Okay, good. And that's why we're going to enjoy Punahele's music. I was hoping you had your ukulele right there. Okay, do you?
Ooh. Out here working till my hood get rich. Build a local eater so we all get fish. Ho'okahe so we can all get kalo. Teach them from a llama, throw away the opala. Hawaiians going global like Curtis E.L.K. Hawaiians going global, sailing on the Hoʻoleia. Shout out to Haunani, shout out to Kilauea. Hale ho'omalu, free my youngest locked in cages. Heal yourself with la'au, lapa'au, ho'opupu to the ahu, rebuild the heao. Nana ike kumu, fill it in, yana au. It's time to heal yourself with la'au, lapa'au. There is science woven in our mo'olelo. The earth has morals, so respect the level. Good intention shown through protocol and oli. Take the shackles off your brain, because it's time to ho'i. Love to the ali'i and the maka ʻāina. We're relatives to Papa and Halo Naka. Return to the land because ʻāina needs kanaka. They threw our queen in prison and she still said oni pa'a. Heal yourself with la'au, lapa'au, ho'okupu to the ahu, rebuild the heao. Nana ike kumu, fill it in, yana au. It's time to heal yourself with la'au, lapa'au. Heal yourself with la'au, lapa'au, ho'okupu to the ahu, rebuild the heao. Nana ike kumu, fill it in, yana au. It's time to heal yourself with la'au, lapa'au. Some would say that my work is revolutionary, cause I tell my youngest not to join the military. Give him a na'o from Aloha, ʻāina visionaries like Maunakea and Auntie Terry. And Auntie Terry. Maunakea and Auntie Terry. It's my favorite people.
Woohoo! Well, good for good reason. As people are coming in, we're just enjoying Punahele. By the way, I remember you now. I heard you when we were out at, on the windward side when we were meeting. Yeah, so that's why you're so familiar to me. Awesome, brother. That was so wonderful to share. And as people are coming, yeah, right on. You got it, Maya. Woohoo! Yeah, you're getting the thumbs up from everybody, my dear. So bless you. That was wonderful to share. As you folks are coming on, we've got about 100 people signed up for this, and we've only got about 26 on right now. So maybe we'll just wait a couple more minutes if it's okay with you guys, and we'll start a film in a couple, 3 minutes, and then we'll have a chance to talk to each other and share, and then talk to you all who are joining us. So let's keep our fingers crossed and take a nice deep breath, and we'll start in a couple minutes. Okay, anybody want to share right now while we're waiting? All righty, we'll just kind of sit for a moment, and maybe as we're just getting ready to start this beautiful 16th annual Hawaii Book and Music Festival today, This is mana'o that is oral, and we are Maunakea, and that is a beautiful, beautiful mana'o to share today. This narrative, these narratives of Aloha ʻāina, as we are Aloha ʻāina, patriots and protectors. And, you know, speak of protest and protection in place, we actually are all about loving the land. And in fact, so much loving the land that it almost is an ache, because she is so precious and she is who feeds us. So as we're just a minute away from getting started on this with the film, we've got about only 28 in, 29, so we'll be patient. Welcome everybody to, I think, is this the first day? Yesterday, Solomon Enos graced us with his remarkable Polyfantastica and his deep Ike Hawaii through the visual arts. So today, shortly in another half a minute, we're going to start a film, and it's called, let's see, what is it called? Maunakea Sacred Mountain, Sacred Conduct. And it's an important piece that we'll talk about at the end of the piece. So enjoy it, because it's coming up shortly. Thank you all. Okay, here we go. Volume. There should be volume on this, Roger. Colin, we got to start over. Hold on. Back it up. Stop the video. We gotta take it back and put some volume on this. Hold on, there is volume, so we're gonna take this back. Colin, Roger, could you please start this? It's showing, but there's no volume. Could you please back it up? So there's all this beautiful olelo, yeah. There's no sound now, so please. There should be volume, Colin. Back it up. Good thing we're not techies, right? So good old Colin's got to do this.
What I like about this is we're taking
Kaiko ka moana kailana nei Hawaiʻi naue lulu ka honua haumea na kulukulu kalani ki e kaumai luna aue te aloha ole. What I
like about this is we're taking it one day at a time. We can only know what we're doing and why we're doing it. We have a very definite purpose for our mountain, and that's what we're trying to maintain. And we don't, we don't have anything against astronomy. We think it's a wonderful thing, like many other science, but not from our mountain. Maunakea is our temple of Aloha. The mountain is vast, but it also has a critical limit. Well, my hope is that TMT will go away, and this will be the mountain we know.
Me ka puhi hewa mai puaru mai me ko mano kalani po kai mai ana mena kama
We're inseparable from the land. It's part of our DNA. It's in our blood. It's in our bones. And there's only one objective. The reason we sit on the road, the reason we sleep in this tent on this road that we're sitting on right now, we're just trying to stop 18-story building from being built on our mountain. It's too big. I worked on Maunakea for about 12 years. I worked also for Caltech, who's also one of the partners for the TMT. When they started to develop more is when I began to see that the landscape was being transformed from a natural and sacred landscape into one of a man-made construct. I was a witness to toxic spills, to raiding of our antiquities, destruction of our ahus, including my own family ahu, that was destroyed and stolen.
We've been ramping up since 2015, knowing that TMT is coming back, that it's not over yet. We organized and got enough people to get buy-in to envision a camp here. And we told people, bring your sleeping bags, bring your tents. We can't tell you exactly what we're gonna do, but we're gonna roll out and set up a camp. We realized that we had to give the camp a context. Why don't we create a Puʻuhonua? Why don't we create a modern Puʻuhonua with ceremony and try our best to implement the proper protocols?
O Maunakea, o ta hoko kane I de lāhui, o
We say up here a couple aloha all the time, every time, on the Mauna and everywhere you go. Couple aloha is a very simple concept. Sacred mountain, sacred conduct, period. It's about everyone bringing their best of themselves and sharing with each other. And when that occurs, then you end up with love and respect.
We wanted to create a safe space, a refuge, a sanctuary for our kiaʻi as we engage in resistance against the TMT. So we gotta give speeches, music, live music, teach-ins, direct action training, hands-on sign making.
So that's exactly what. Because we put on the idea of the kapu aloha, there is a really nice camaraderie between all of us, and we suspect that this is the way our villages were many years ago.
The cops came here with about 200 when the Kupuna were arrested. They say they were outnumbered 10-1. So if you have 200 people who are willing to get arrested and they're sitting down on the road locking arms, and the cops are going to need a lot more people than that. When we get arrested, we encourage everyone to not cooperate. Just go live.
chose to put themselves on the line to protect Maunakea and to protect us, the younger generations who they didn't want us getting arrested. Felt like it was their job.
Stand for the Mauna now. Don't leave the Mauna.
We as Kanaka are at a time in our history that we wake up, act, and do whatever is necessary. Because if we don't, we will be erased. To survive as real people here, to survive as human beings, not as zombies, a part of what we were, but to survive as the best Kanaka that we can be today. Spaces and places like Maunakea have to be defended and have to be that portal in many ways, so we can return really to our true nature.
Aluli kiaʻi ka poʻe, makanaʻau, maka ʻāina, makaleo, makaʻolelo, o nā mahele like ʻole o ka lāhui, ka nā kumuhula, ka poʻe kalai ʻāina, ka poʻe politika, ka limahana, nā mahi ʻāina, mea āpau hiki ke komo ma'aneʻi a huipu me ka manaʻo iʻo, ma ka malama ʻana, ma ka hana ʻana i kekahi mea.
We are committed to protecting Maunakea, and as committed as the young people are, and as radical as we may seem at some times, we'll sit down and have a 5-10 minute conversation with them. They're the real radicals. They're the ones who are really committed.
So this is not a Sunday picnic, believe me, but we have no choice but to sit on this road, non-violently resist, do everything we could to lay our bodies down to make sure that no trucks go up the mountain and cause any further desiccation.
We're the indigenous people of this land, and we feel responsible for this land. And so we're going to do whatever we can to maintain that. When the mountain calls, show up. And that's what we have to remember, because Papa, Earth Mother, is resonating. And she resonates right here in your heart.
No Oʻahu
Aloha mai kako, pehea mai nei. What a privilege to be here. Hi, everyone.
My name is Kara with a K.
With a K. I don't know who Kara with a K is, but let's just say we're all on, and what a privilege it is to be here. And I just wanted to share a little bit of Meleanna Aluli Meyer keia, he kikio kia na ʻāina nei. Mahalo me ko hoʻokipa, a me ea ka huipu me ke aloha with being aloha ʻāina. To my left on the top screen, actually, Right below me on the screen is Kahele, beloved Kahele Dukelow. Could you just take a moment, Tita, and just say a few words and say hi to our little audience out there, and we'll just go around, okay?
Okay, aloha nui a kākou apau, velina me ke aloha. O wau ke ia o Kahele Onolani Dukelow, no ka mokupuni o Maui, hanau ia hanai ia kula ia no ma ke ia mokupuni nei, ma ne I wau e noho ana me ko ohana. Aloha everybody, my name is Kahele Dukelow. I'm a kupa of the island of Maui, born and raised. And I continue to reside here on Maui, and it's my pleasure to be here today. And I look forward to being able to, wala'au, talk some stories about Maunakea and the importance of what we were doing there and what we've learned from it and what we continue to do. So mahalo nui.
Mahalo. Mahalo, Tita. Mahialani.
Aloha mai kākou, I'm Mahealani Ahia. I'm a diasporic Kanaka Oiwi, born in Los Angeles. I returned to my father's home in Maui about nearly 15 years ago. I'm a PhD student at UH Manoa now, so I'm currently living in Manoa, and I'm really excited to be able to join all of these wonderful folks tonight. And thank you so much, Meleanna, for this beautiful film. It really, really stirs my na'au every time I watch it. So mahalo.
Mahalo ya oi, Tita. Mahalo. Punahele, pehea oi.
Kaino, aloha mai kākou, o wau o Punahele, mo makaha mai au, o ka'ala a me lahi ku'u mau mauna, o kaya ulu a me ku'u ka'ala ku'u mau makani. Haze, my name is Punahele from Maka'a, Hawaii. I'm super glad to be here on a panel full of my me'es, my heroes, and yeah, excited to get started and speak about the Mauna.
Woohoo! Okay, Leilani, o'oi.
Aloha mai kākou. I'm Leilani, also another diasporic Kanaka Iwi from the Bay or Ohlone territory. Been here for about a decade and also a PhD student working on poetry about being Hawaiian and diasporic. And this is Ka'ala.
Ka'ala. Nice to see you, Ka'ala. I love it. Welcome, Velina mai kākou, oko pakahia po. You know, as somebody who's an artist in the community, it's a privilege to be on a panel with a whole bunch of aloha ʻāina. And I think for the audience out there, maybe one of you guys could speak about this notion of being an aloha ʻāina and what that might mean to you, because that's not necessarily clear to people, and yet it's pretty clear to us, right? So anybody want to just take that little manao and share?
Sure. I mean, I think maybe we can all chime in a little bit about what aloha ʻāina is. You know, first of all, a lot of us have come to aloha ʻāina through struggle, through education, through learning our language, learning our cultural practices, learning about our history, learning our mo'olelo and all of those things. And what you begin to find out is you see examples of what aloha ʻāina are in our own history, and you begin to take guidance from them. And so for me, when we talk about aloha ʻāina, and we always say, you know, the word aloha, of course, is probably one of the most co-opted words. And this is one way that, you know, we reclaim this, because it really is such an important word for us in so many contexts, especially the context that you saw in this film, which is, you know, when we're talking about aloha ʻāina and the way everybody on this panel has been on Maunakea, right? It is this deep love and aloha for this place, for your people, and it's about action. It's about protecting that. It's about politics. it's about taking care of people, it's about community, it's about family. It's about all of those things. And I think for me, that's something that's really important, that it's not ever one of those things. It is all of those things. And it's the way that many of us choose to live our lives, right? As Aloha ʻāina, that means that we are always in that mode of thinking for lāhui. And really that means that, above all else, this is our land. We are connected to it, and we should decide what happens on it. And I think that is what we are constantly challenging every minute of our day as we exist in, the world that we live in today. And I will stop there and pass it off to one of the other Aloha ʻāina on this panel.
Who would like to go next? So we don't have to go in sequence, but whoever feels like, you need to jump in there, go for it. Kahele?
I completely agree with Kahele. Aloha ʻāina is everything that she said. And sometimes you love your ʻāina so much that when you meet other people like you across the world, whether it be in Kashmir, Palestine, Turtle Island, West Papua, Aotearoa, you hope for them so much that they would get land back, or ho'i ʻāina. And, they would restore pono in whatever their situation. So, like, whenever I visit people and I see my people, our people inside of them, part of me is like, if Hawaii, we get Hawaii free again, I might go join them. And I pray for them. I wish with all my being that they would experience the joy of land back. And yeah, I just wanted to add that little piece, and I'll pass it off to any one of our other panelists.
Mahea, as you share about Aloha ʻāina, please could you also speak to this notion of kapualoha, because it's kind of like these, not bookends at all, but there's like this encompassing energy of those two pieces, because you were up there. Maybe you can share a little bit about, your being up there and just a little bit about your experience.
Mahalo. Yeah, so I was up on Maunakea from the initial opening ceremony where we set up the Puʻuhuluhulu, Puʻuhonua on the Saturday, and I stayed there mostly nonstop. I did fly back and forth to teach classes during the semester. So there were a group of us who would fly out every Tuesday morning, teach Tuesday, Thursday, and fly back Thursday night so that we could stay committed. And that's what Aloha ʻāina is to me. When you love something so much, you're willing to sacrifice whatever is necessary to protect your ohana, to protect your family. And Aloha ʻāina also to me is that relationality. So it's not only love for the land. That's such a surface phrase to gloss it. It's really a deep intimacy with the land. So it's knowing what kind of winds are coming by the clouds. Auntie Kalei Nuʻuhiwa would teach us, oh, there's this wind pattern. We can see the cloud pattern. We know which storm is coming. We learned those kinds of things up there. We knew that every day around 3:30 or 4, Lily Noi mist was going to come rushing across the front of the mountain. And we would just sit there in awe for a good half an hour. And we knew that Kanehoʻolani, when we invoked Kanehoʻolani at the 6 o'clock ceremonies, that the sun was going to change right before us in all these glorious colors. And we knew when we looked at the Puʻuhuluhulu that the ʻāʻaliʻi there, the different pinks and purples were going to shimmer and shine at us. We saw, they tell us stories that at one point Maunakea glistened with silver because there was so much silver sword up there. And it breaks my heart to think that I won't get to see that in my generation. But I fight for the restoration of those plant cesters. Those are our ancestors in a different kinolau, right? So those are all of our ohana that we're there to protect, not just our human, but our non-human. And when we say Mauna a Wakea, we have to remember that even though we're invoking the name of Wakea, the Mauna is actually our mama, it's Papa. right? So the Mauna is actually Papa, our mother, our Mama Mauna. And so these are the family, the relations that we're there to hold sacred. And so when we say we're living in kapu aloha, kapu, the sacredness, the restrictions, and the aloha that is so deep that you would protect your child, you would protect your tutu, you would protect your brothers and sisters who, I lived with these folks on and off for 8 months. You know, you're my family, you're my ohana, we built hale together. Kahele is my kumu and my auntie and my dear friend and former boss. Like I love her, and I would throw down for her. I would lay down for her and Kaleikoa. I would lay down for her son Puna and her daughters Ho'o and Wahinehula. You know, those are our ohana, and we've protected multiple mountains together. We protected Haleakala together. And so we came already. And I remember one of the things that Kahele said on Haleakala, which is, even though the telescope got built, we did not lose because we won each other. We built a community. We built pilina that is unbreakable. And when the call comes again, we will stand up for each other for every issue, for the iwi kupuna, for the waters, for Maunakea when they call us to stand with them. And so to stand in kapu aloha means to have self-discipline. It means that your love for the mountain is stronger than your own selfishness, or, you know, the individuality that our neo-colonialism and neo-capitalism says, you know, it's all about me. It's not. It's a collective we. We are Maunakea. And so we're willing to hold a certain discipline out of love for the principles that tie us together.
Beautifully said, Tita, beautifully said. And, you know, holding this discipline is extraordinary, because without the collective, and that's what I witnessed on the mountain when I went up a half a dozen times, you know, my experience was to say, what can I offer as an artist? So the opportunity for me to gather these extraordinary mo'olelo with Tom Coffman and David Kalama, who I went up with, as filmmakers. But also I want you all to know that what was extraordinary about the film is that the other 8 videographers, including, you know, this, you'll see the list if you see the film again. Typically filmmakers do not give film to other people, but because it's the collective cause, all of these extraordinary videographers offered these clips and these certain specific things that I was looking for. So I want to just, you know, give a shout out to everyone who made this film possible, because without their sharing, this film wouldn't have been as extraordinary. And, you know, that goes to show you about Hawaiian culture and our values for each other as a kako, because, you know, whether it's Puʻuhuluhulu that I'll ask you guys to talk about in a little bit, or the writings, it's all about us. We either all make it or we all are not going to. So I think that's the big mo'olelo for the world to get. We either all are going to go together forward or not. So Leilani, in terms of Aloha ʻāina and your exposure up there, what was your experience like?
Yeah. I was thinking about a few years ago, I had taken a class from Kumu Kaikina de Silva, and she had introduced us to an article by Joseph Navahi titled Ke Aloha ʻāina He Ahaia. And that kind of blew my mind. I wasn't necessarily in the same headspace as I am now. So I was really early on in like learning about all these things. But it really blew my mind in the sense that the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first line talks about how, sorry, that was my child, talks about how Aloha ʻāina is this magnetic pull that Hawaiians have in their heart to our homeland. And the way, you know, he described it really opened up to my eyes to like how intimate our relationship is to land, and the importance of us standing for Mauna Kea, standing for all these other places across the Pai'aina. And as somebody who's, you know, diasporic, it was hard at first to kind of deal with the unknowns of myself.
Mhm.
And then, you know, also struggling with like, do I have this kuleana to go to Maunakea as somebody who, you know, is still working on trying to figure out their mo'okuauhau. And I think ultimately it became bigger than myself and bigger than me and my insecurities and the importance of, you know, me to show up and to stand up and just, you know my place without being overstepping and overbearing. So my experience there was trying to be a kāko'o more than anything and not trying to be in the limelight in a lot of ways, because I'm also terrified of that. But I just wanted to be there to be a kāko'o.
It is always a privilege to do that. Kumukahele, I just really wanted to focus in on the fact that we get to teach these younger ones. And so I wanted you to reflect, please, maybe, and share your fabulous mo'olelo and teaching up there on the mountain, because that was very much a part of the experience for all of us, is that exchange of information and the excitement of being in a place where we could haku something together, because it's historic what we all got to witness. Could you just share some mana'o from that time?
Sure. I mean, I think first of all, you know, as an educator, we have this incredible privilege, right, to be in this space of learning, teaching, and acting upon those ideals of aloha ʻāina. We really are privileged in that way. We're protected in that way. And I think we really have a fundamental kuleana to do that, right? So, and to elevate that privilege that we have beyond ourselves, and to make sure that we are using it to nurture and malama our communities and our people, our lāhui. So, you know, the fact that we were able to spend so much time on Maunakea, I was like, you know, I was flying back and forth, you know, navigating my job and my kids, and, you know, the Puʻuhonua, and, you know, trying to do all of those things, again, with the great privilege that we can do that with the jobs that we have. And so we should, I guess is the point. But, you know, every space, right, that whole, you know, and it's been a couple years that, you know, we've been able to sort of reflect on it. And I think a lot of us who spent lots of time on the Mauna are just beginning to, you know, to talk about, you know, some of those lessons that we've learned, and some of those reflections. But, you know, what we saw was this incredible outpouring from our lāhui, right, from our people, and they wanted to learn. You know, and I've been an educator, you know, for a long time, Meleanna. You knew me when I was very green, straight out of college, but, you know, that was 30 years ago.
Only 30
almost,
years.
not, you know, it's almost around there. And but it was, you know, and as an educator, that's your joy, right? When you see that somebody wants to learn. And on the Mauna, it was everywhere, right? And that's when, you know, the incredible brainchild of, I know it was Meyer, Kahala, the chancellor.
Presley,
I know, I was like, I call her something that I don't want to say on the, like, I have a nickname for her. Kiala Anuhea, that's what I'll call her. And I know Ilima, you know, there was a whole bunch of people, and it was sort of this, hey, let's do this, because we, you know, we have all these people, we have to create, you know, this space for them to learn. And, you know, that was sort of what started it, but then the people that poured in, that wanted to share, was also this amazing, you know, wave of just so many people, you know, wanting to be a part of that and wanting to share and wanting to learn. And it was really incredible. You know, and it highlighted all of the good, all of the things that we need to improve, but I mean, when you think about the people, just to listen, I'm thinking you guys are compiling this list, Maya. Even if you just look at a list of people who made a presentation at Puʻuhuluhulu University. It is impressive, right? People from all walks of life, ages, you know, backgrounds, amazing. It really was amazing. And, you know, of course, for me, it was seeing our lāhui with that ʻīʻini was the best thing about, probably the best thing about the Mauna, just all of the opportunities that we all had to learn and share on the Mauna. So.
Ew, yeah. And, you know, for all of us, I know you share this gratitude, you know, for those of us who don't do hula, for the Kanahele Ohana to share, to invite us to do oli and hula and pule up there, and to learn those new things, to be included, you know, was just such a huge gift to all of us. I felt like I haven't before. You know, each island has their own, you know, kuleana action and, you know, tribal action, but that was so open to all of us in the larger community up on the Mauna. And it was something that was greeted so delighted, you know, with great delight from everybody who came to give offerings and things. And maybe Mahia, you can actually share a little bit about that notion of we are Maunakea, because believe it or not, we have 20 minutes. So what we're experiencing now is that we need to have our own conversation and have a channel of materials that we can share, so we can spend the time to talk to each other, because this kind of opportunity is really a gift. So please, if you could, you know, share something about We Are Maunakea that you'd like folks to know. And Punahele, get ready for your sharing of your second piece, okay? Go for it, Mahia.
So We Are Maunakea. One of the things that I wanted to bring up today is that our whole lāhui came out and we made spaces for each other. So within Puʻuhuluhulu University, Kahala Johnson and Kalenio Pua Young created the Hale Mahu and then we all helped to create the Hale Wahine. So the Hale Mahu was created for our LGBTQ ohana, and the Hale Wahine for all of the women and girls who were in camp, because we did notice that there's still, within our families, our very extended ohana, there's still gendered and sexuality issues that go on in our lāhui. And so one of the things that was revolutionary was to build those two hale within the pu'u. And I shout out to Leilani and Punahele, who not only helped to erect the tents themselves, Maria Lohalani Brown and other folks helped to sponsor us by donating the first pop-up tents. Punahele ended up doing some concerts and donating funds so we could have electricity. Leilani literally sat in the tents with me and greeted folks. And we talked about different women's issues in the movement, and we're able to create spaces for voices that are sometimes marginalized or aren't necessarily going to get the headlines. So even though, if we notice, Wahine and Mahu folks, our queer family, were actually in majority of the leadership positions, they're not always seen as such. And so they don't get that kind of notoriety or noticing. And I think one of the revolutionary things is this might be the first movement where we actually had a dedicated space for that. So we're pretty excited about that, to be able to create a space to have those further conversations. And then as far as We Are Maunakea, one of the things that I personally loved, as Kahele mentioned, is really getting to learn from all kinds of different people in different spaces. So learning didn't just happen in the uni. It happened in small conversations that we got to have with the kupuna when they were taking their walks during the day. And, you know, Auntie would go visit her favorite tree and tell us a mo'olelo. There were all kinds of small learning things where I learned so much from the Maunamedic healers, and they would tell me, oh, you need to be using this natural la'au that, you know, grows right here in the space. And so there was all kinds of different learning interactions going on. And one of the things that that I loved the most was, as Punahele said, getting to know our international relations and meeting those folks from Palestine, meeting folks that came from Standing Rock, meeting Hawaiians that were living abroad in like Russia, you know, so we had all kinds of ohana coming home because they heard this call and they felt like, I need to be part of this. I'm part of that we too. I need to be there. I feel that in my now, I have to go. And they found their way to the mountain. It's really phenomenal if you think about it, because we all have these small stories. In the biography journal, one of the differences between your beautiful film and the biography journal is in your film, we get this mass view of faces and lots of folks all together, and you see the momentum of that. In our Indigenous life writing, we get the small stories. So in the biography journal, you're going to get those individual stories of what it was really like to live for 8 months. So when you read Maria Lohalani Brown's piece, she talks about what it's like to live up there for 8 months through the hurricanes and, you know, through the windstorms. And you hear Kavena's story about how he brought his experiences elsewhere to the mountain. You see Joy Enomoto's what it's like to create art about the Akua Wahine, like Poliahu and Mo'inanea. So you see all these small voices that are all part of that we. And that's what makes us great, right? The more mana, the more variations we have, the more mana of spiritual power that we have, because we're a collective we. In my pronouns, I always put she, we, oya for that reason, because I know that when I write, I'm not writing by myself. I'm writing with the voices of my kupuna and my keiki who come through me. And so my voice is never just mine. I'm never speaking only for me or as me. And so we are Maunakea. And I just wanted to do one last shout out. I'm sorry to take so long, but one of the things that we learned while being on the Mauna is that folks wanted to learn more about the Mauna. They didn't want the learning to end. And so we did try and put together a Maunakea Syllabus project. It's still, because the issue hasn't ended, we're still in process, but we have got our website up and running. And Leilani, I shout out to you for helping me build that and create that, the Hawaii Review. Not only did Maunakea Syllabus project, but within that, we actually have a whole list of the hundreds of classes that were listed. So you can go find your name and the date and the time that you yourself came and offered your ho'okupu. So mahalo to everyone for all of our efforts.
Ew, I love it. And that's exactly the kind of enthusiasm that I felt on the mountain, that we all felt. It's just an amazing time to revisit. And God willing, we will have succeeded there and to help this whole movement forward. But you know how serious it is when Auntie Pua folks say, yeah, this is it. This is what we're here for the long haul. We're here to, you know, give our lives to this Mauna, because when you think about ʻāina, that which feeds us, you know, if we cannot honor who we are a part of as mother, as earth, then we have no business on the planet, as far as I'm concerned, if we can't make that clear. And what you're sharing, Mahia, is so beautiful. And I appreciate that. I appreciate hearing all of these stories, because it's in the little, it's in the intricate, it's in the details that the story collectively is very enriched. So I just want to honor that and honor all the work that you have done. And we're going to actually be we're going to have Punahele share right now, because I know he's just waiting to give us another rap, brother. So if you could, we'd love it. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, as Mahia mentioned, we are Maunakea. A lot of us have such diverse backgrounds and stories, and being in Kapu'oloha, let me tell you, for a long time is not easy at all. But I felt like I was a baby when I went up there, and my Kapu'oloha kind of blossom and cocoon like a butterfly. And it made me feel that my kapu aloha was just more than sacred Mauna, sacred conduct. It kind of made me want to advocate for all the LGBTQ plus people that was standing on the front lines. It made me want to actively challenge anti-Blackness and anti-Micronesian hate. And just because people from all of these backgrounds was there on the front lines with us, my bill support was a Micronesian family, and just seeing all of us come together made me realize that it's more than challenging David Lasner. He sees me all the time and he's scared of me, even though I love him. And yeah, when I was there, I realized that I had to call in a lot of people on our side as protectors. And yeah, I wrote this song about that. Yee. Yeah. They try to erase us and they try to down us. Since they don't listen, they'll see us on the Mauna. They act like we don't matter, but we was here first. They came here on planes and we came from the dirt. They say we never cared, but we always did. Only the unrighteous see silence as consent. Hawaiian place of learning. I do not get it. How can you represent us if you don't respect our wishes? They talk about aloha, but they know nothing about living it. They use free speech to protect white supremacists for expressing our rights. They're trying to give us big fines. We're prepared to risk it all and put our lives on the line. Kapu aloha, defend the sacred. We are not anti-science, we are anti-desecration. Tell the media to make the corrections. We are protectors, not protesters. And they tried to make us mad when they cut the flag in half. Hawaiians arresting Hawaiians for a check. That is sad. We the evidence, not the crime. Standing here is living proof. If they come in the night, you hear the sound of the poo. There should be no back line at a front line camp. How maka action like that? No can. If you make my people hurt, you will become my enemy. When you peel out, it destroys your legacy. No retreating, Mother Earth is weeping. If we come together, we will never be defeated. I will not stand by and watch my people suffer till death do us part. I am married to the struggle. I stand for my people. I rise for my people. I put that work in and I grind for my people. Provide for my people. I rise for my people. I live for my people and I die for my people. Rah!
Dude, that is just so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I know that is going to go far and wide if it hasn't already. You know, it's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Mahalo for that. Mahalo. Where can we hear more of your work, young man?
Just like the Jackson 5. You call my name, I'll be there.
Okay.
But it's not YouTube, Facebook, like YouTube, Spotify.
Okay, all right. That's a shout out for Punahele's great work. Leilani, how about you with all of this kapu aloha and being there and contributing? What's your take on all of this extraordinary work?
I think it's amazing. I'm not necessarily as much of a performer, I guess you can say, as Punahele is. And so, you know, I try to write my experiences through poetry, which I can read my poem from the biography series part.
Do you have something that you'd like to read? That would be wonderful. And
yeah,
again, I would love that. And again, we just to have, 10 minutes, but 10, 12 minutes, but that would be wonderful, Tita. That would be great.
Yeah. So I wrote this for the biography. It's titled Makua, A Creation Story. Sorry, let me get comfortable. Okay. I remember the first night, the sharp air filling my lungs, Po forcing me to trust voices without faces. A calm fear entered my body, and I did not sleep. I rose early the next morning, chanting E Ala E, greeting the sun, surrounded by ancestors. The consecration took place later that day. a Puʻuhonua was born. That night, I felt ill. A headache weighed me down. Chills shook my body. Was this a test before the standoff? Again, Ealae was chanted and ceremony was conducted every hour on the hour, a much needed grounding. Diaspora is a particular type of trauma, a severance that cuts deep, leaving me raw and tender, but Maunakea called to me. And so I stood with the lāhui and bore witness to riot gear and outer island cops, to frontline kupuna and protective mana wahine, to high Hawaii and regular ceremony. It is said that Haumea bore generation upon generation of Oiwi, rebirthing herself to create 400,000 kupuna and mo'opuna. Haumea of Nu'umealani of Kahiki bore children from sacred thighs and brains. Haumea, who is slyly reproductive, bearing children in a multitude of ways. I remember that I am Haumea, who can bear from my sacred thighs, but also from my brains, my mouth, my words, my poetry. I become that which feeds. A seed was planted in my na'au under a rising moon, surrounded by lilinoi, a blessed pua created in ceremony and rooted in the sacred. Ka'ala became the source.
Beautiful. And is that piece in We Are Maunakea as well? Wow. Yes. Okay. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Roger shared that was just published. And I believe also that piece is going to be, We Are Maunakea is going to be offered NOAA, as in access as well. So that plus the value of Hawaii 3, we have work at our disposal. We have this beautiful creative genius of all of us that are working that is available to one another. And I think that is the ho'okupu, the offering that is so powerful. And I just wanted to share, if it's okay with you, something that my dear friend Alice Walker sent, because she actually said to me, Maunakea Sacred Mountain, sacred conduct demonstrates this intuitive knowing of what is sacred. Love is the most sacred of all experiences on earth. May this magnificent offering of a film condensed into one long song of liberation guide us to our deepest connection to what truly matters, defending our right to honor, protect, and celebrate the grandest love of all, a love that never leaves us alone, our planetary mother, Earth. And, you know, it's wonderful, as we all know, to have the internationals and to have the support from all our po'eloha ʻāina everywhere, because the work is grueling. And it's not just for Hawaiians, it's for all of us who have these similar circumstances. So when I was told about We Are Maunakea, the project, I was so excited, because we are those people around the world that are holding hands and holding in prayer energies for all others who are doing this kind of work. So, you know, it's a short time. We've got 4 minutes. So maybe I can just ask each of you just to share a quick thought as a closing mana'o, which would be wonderful. Kahele, would you want to give that a go, Tita?
Sure. I mean, I think you know, just all the mana'o that was, you know, have been shared today has been, you know, very healing in a way for me. And I think that was something that was very big on the mountain. And one of the most, some of the most impressive things were really watching the other Pacific nations, all of the nations, but especially the other Pacific nations, and the way that that they rose, right, in honor of Maunakea to really reconnect with us. And, you know, for us, we have genealogical connections to each other that have been nearly erased through colonial genocide. To see that being rebuilt on the Mauna was very impactful for me. And, getting to the, and then I'm going to end with this, getting to the space where it was, the armor of Aloha allows us to continue and do this kind of work. And we have to remember, we got to call out our enemies because we have a lot of them, right? I work for UH. UH has ignored us, has, tried everything, has tied us up into knots, has turned us against each other, has, is continuously trying to put forth their Maunakea plan, which really just entangles us in this consultation process so that they can create their own narrative and continue to do what they do, right? It's basically ignoring us again. And so for me, it's like, we have to remember that. Don't ever allow them to pacify, ignore, devalue and erase us, right? So I mean, that's the thing that we have to remember, that through all of this beauty and growth that we had on the Mauna, we still have to remember that those enemies, not just the university, the state of Hawaii, our own people sometimes, right? We have to remember these things because the struggle is real and it's still there and there's so much more to do. So with all of that healing and that learning and all of that stuff, you're just getting ready and to continue your work and to continue to aloha lāhui, so mahalo nui, yakako.
Ew. Who'd like to share next? Punahele?
Yeah, sure. It's just, oh man, all these memories that Kahele was bringing up just reminds me, like, when shout out to Tonga, when Tonga came through and offered so much ho'okupu, and I was just there, like, writing about, my grandma dying on a DHHL list, and I was like, wow, Tonga did more for us than America ever did. And just thinking of Aotearoa and how they go so hard for us from just home as well, it just, it fills me so much with choke aloha. And yeah, and also I'm preparing to go back if need to. A lot of my friends are preparing. I lost 30 pounds and I get some more for go, but just preparing for go back. And if God will, I'm not worried. I hope they should be worried, but it's all love. But yeah, I'll pass it to anybody else. I'm so flustered, but I'm just grateful for this time. And call people in. Anybody you have problems with and stuff. I've been blowing up people's phones and just, I hope people call me in when I'm messing up. So don't be afraid to call me in, call people in. And yeah, that's my message, because we all gonna have to see each other in the future and we're gonna be in each other's face. And Leilani always call me in with one good hard slipper, but I know she loved me. But, yeah. That's all I can say.
We all are there for each other, my dear. So maikai. Leilani, what about you? Final thought?
Yeah, I've been one thing that I've been thinking about while reading, just reading in general, but I had the pleasure to read Dana Naone Hall's Life of the Land, and sorry, and one quote that stuck out to me that I think a lot of people kind of quote her on is, one of the things I learned is that activism consists of 99% trench work. And I've been thinking a lot about my experience on Mauna Kea and my decision, to kind of to leave after a month. I mean, I couldn't afford to fly back and forth because I was teaching Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. But thinking about a lot of the work that needs to be done that doesn't necessarily need to be seen, because there's so many people that made the Puʻuhonua run that a lot of people oftentimes forget. And so I just have been thinking about, that's where I want to take my kuleana to kind of do that trench work and to be more in community with folks that I want to be in community with, and try to move away from being stuck in academia and having only conversations in academia. And yeah, yeah, just trench work.
Actually, that's really important for me to hear, because, you know, honestly, we can talk to each other in bubbles, but until you're out there doing the work, it's a totally different conversation. And as Kahele said earlier, it's really about the action. You know, it's about getting your hands dirty and feeling all of that, which is about, you know, being and breathing and loving each other. So maikaʻi, mahalo Leilani. Mahialani, what about you, Tita? Final thoughts?
My final thoughts are that we all have a story, and each and every one of them, those behind the scenes stories that Leilani was talking about that made the camp run, those are the stories I want to hear, because that's how we all heal. That's how we all grow together, is in sharing those stories. And that's what helps us create the resilience to keep going and to come back again and to do it over and over in the trenches. So start sharing all your stories with all of us, please.
And on that note, you know, for me, this whole notion of, you know, when the mountain calls show up, that is how I feel when my beloved art friends and colleagues and folks, when people ask, kokua, share, be there, witness, stand in solidarity. And this experience today has just been fabulous. I've just enjoyed it so much. And we thank Roger Jelinek and the Hawaii Book Music Festival for this opportunity, because it's great to be able to sort of create some synergy, and a great mahalo for our beloved land and people, and for all of us being aloha ʻāina and our families and the supports that we have. So until we get to do this again, I'm sorry that we didn't have a chance to answer any questions, but let me look on the chat and see, nope, we don't have any questions, so that's good. But Roger, we're gonna let you have the last word here, young man.
Yeah, yeah, I'm old enough to be all your grandfathers. I was absolutely fascinated, and I wasn't there, but you put me there. And I think that was the idea behind this panel. I think a good point was made that about the little stories that are in the book, because I think those in the end have more impact to a greater variety of people. So I hope the book does well. And I would like to thank you all very much for taking part. I'm sorry it was a bit of a scramble. But it took quite a while to get you together. I asked a lot of very overwhelmed people to join in, and everybody seems to be totally swamped. So there were a lot more voices we could have had, but I thought this was an admirable selection. Anyway, thank you very much. And Meleanna, it wasn't so bad.
Hey, it's never bad when you're with your peeps and in conversation with things that we love. So I just want to mahalo everybody, because being voluntold is never a problem, Roger. And being a part of this community is such a gift to all of us. So thank you for giving us the platform and the time.
Tease you because you wanted everything organized to achieve. And really this kind of thing happens much better when it's not.
I love it. You're listening to the boss who asked me to give him a script. I said, heck no, what kind of script can I possibly give you? Blessings to everybody. Mahalo. Mahalo, and let's meet again sometime soon, okay? All right. Ahui ho. Aloha.
Aloha, mahalo.